How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Hospitals can bring hope, but they can also be full of death and despair. Today we're looking at haunted hospitals around the world and the restless spirits that haunt their halls. But before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more awesome creepy content just like this.
St. Elizabeth's Hospital was built in 1855, making it one of the first psychiatric hospitals in America. Looking at it, this building seems perfectly innocent, but it has a dark and secret history of abuse. Among the 8,000 patients, there were a few with extremely violent tendencies. Some of these, including John Hinchley Jr. and Richard Lawrence, had even tried to assassinate presidents. Sadly, many of the patients were gravely mistreated, which may have contributed to the ghostly energy that lingers there today. Some reports say that barbaric experiments took place at St. Elizabeth's Hospital. Ice pick lobotomies were a common theory, as thousands of brains and other medical specimens were found preserved in formaldehyde. There are also stories of unmarked graves, missing bodies, and a creepy incinerator used to dispose of human remains. Additionally, wounded soldiers were brought in during the Civil War for surgeries and medical treatment. Many didn't survive. The hospital is still used today and is part owned by the government. With such a tragic history, it's no wonder visitors report chilling phenomena like phantom crying, moaning, and footsteps, or air that chills for no explainable reason. Florida's Royal Hope Military Hospital was in operation from 1784 until it was demolished in 1821. A few years later, a replica of the original hospital was constructed. But while attempting to repair water lines on the site, workers made a chilling discovery. Royal Hope Hospital had been constructed on top of an ancient Native American burial ground. Given its gruesome history and desecration of sacred grounds, it's considered one of the most haunted places in Florida. Examples of strange supernatural occurrences include surgical equipment mysteriously shaking and beds in the wards moving on their own. Clearly, the spirits who linger at Royal Hope Hospital are not at rest. These days, Canada's Tranquille Sanatorium is best known as a creepy filming location in many television and movie productions, including the recent A-Team movie. But it also has a long and storied history as a tuberculosis treatment facility. Tranquille Sanatorium actually began as a ranch before its owners converted it into a tuberculosis hospital. Many of its over 4,000 tuberculosis patients died here, and many say the spirits linger on. The facility closed in 1958 but was reopened a few years later. It was ultimately abandoned in 1983, and since then visitors to the sanatorium have reported many unsettling experiences. For example, when wandering the halls, visitors are prone to experiencing sudden temperature drops, overwhelming feelings of sadness, and even witnessing strange, unexplainable floating orbs. Taunton State Hospital was built in Taunton, Massachusetts in 1854. Like others on this list, this was a psychiatric care facility with a dark history. For one thing, Taunton State was home to several notoriously dangerous patients like Jane Toppin, a nurse who confessed to murdering at least 31 people. By all accounts, the staff at Taunton State Hospital were even more terrifying. There are many reports of doctors and nurses forcing their patients down into the dark basement, where they would perform satanic rituals on them. Since then, anyone who visits the site feels uneasy as they approach the basement door. And if all that wasn't enough, there are also multiple reports of a mysterious shadow creature that crawls up walls and watches patients sleep. Severall's Hospital in Colchester, England is a psychiatric hospital that easily earns its haunted reputation. This facility opened in 1913 and has a lingering air of misery. Severall's is infamous for its endorsement of twisted psychiatric experiments. Patients who were committed there were subjected to full frontal lobotomies and painful electroshock therapy. You might think the limited medical knowledge at the time justified these barbaric treatments, but there's also evidence to suggest that these experiments were used as punishments for any patients who acted moody or defiant. Then there's the fact that many of the female patients committed here had no mental illnesses at all. Many were simply imprisoned in the facility by family members to hide the shame of giving birth to children out of wedlock. Severall's Hospital officially closed in 1997 and has since been the destination of choice for vandals and those with an interest in the occult. Ghost hunters believe the facility is extremely haunted. They're especially drawn to the mortuary, which they consider the epicenter of spiritual unrest. Pennsylvania Hospital was established in 1761 and is arguably the most famous haunted site in Philadelphia. It's yet another hospital with a history of mistreating the mentally ill. But what makes Pennsylvania Hospital unique among other haunted facilities is the dry moat that ran the length of the grounds. Here patients were forcibly made to exercise. The moat runs became a well-known spectacle, with local townsfolk coming by to watch and make cruel wagers. There was also a statue on the grounds of the philosopher William Penn. According to rumours, this statue was cursed and would come to life on the night of a full moon. Whatever you believe, this is undoubtedly a place with a very dark history. Waverly Hills Sanatorium is one of the most notorious haunted hotspots in Kentucky. It's said to be brimming with supernatural activity, with hundreds of terrifying accounts from those brave enough to venture into the dilapidated building. The sanatorium first opened its doors in the early 1900s. Although it began as a treatment facility for tuberculosis sufferers, Western medicine at the time was proving ineffective at treating TB. Out of desperation, the doctors began performing experimental surgeries and procedures, inadvertently killing many of their own patients. Some say their spirits still roam the halls of Waverly Hills, trapped between this world and the next. Paranormal investigators have also uncovered Waverly Hills' hidden death tunnel, which was used to discreetly dispose of corpses. The death tunnel today is pitch black and gives visitors feelings of overwhelming despair. Many who have passed through say they've felt the presence of malevolent spirits grabbing at them. Finally, there are two commonly cited resident spirits at Waverly Hills: the ghost of a little boy who is often heard bouncing his ball through the hallway, and the ghost of Mary, a spirit known for playing twisted games of hide and seek with ghost hunters. Built in 1935, the old Changi Hospital has become known as one of Singapore's most infamous haunted locations. It originally served as the Royal Air Force Hospital, but was later taken over by Japanese and used as a prison camp. During that time, many POWs died while being subjected to a torture chamber. These days, visitors frequently report seeing apparitions that are believed to be the victims of the Japanese. The now abandoned building has since been the site of many paranormal shows, with dozens of film and television crews attempting to capture footage of an otherworldly presence. Visitors to the old Changi Hospital have reported hearing and seeing many frightening and unexplainable things in the decrepit hallways. These include strange moaning sounds and unexplainable feelings of nausea, and stories of hostile spirits following them even outside of the hospital grounds. 1867 saw the opening of the largest asylum in Australia, the Ararat Lunatic Asylum. This mental health care facility housed tens of thousands of patients, some of whom were among the most dangerous and violent psychotics in the world. During its 130 years of operation, a staggering 13,000 patients died in this facility. This is no doubt why the Ararat Lunatic Asylum, now known as the Arradale Mental Hospital, is considered one of the most haunted places in all of Australia. The facility closed in 1998 but was unexpectedly reopened 3 years later and transformed into a campus for the Australian College of Wine. With such a tragic history, it's no surprise ghost sightings and strange phenomena still commonly occur today. Many have spotted the spirit of a nurse who haunts the women's wing. Then there's the unexplainable banging in the men's isolation cells and the icy wind that passes through the old director's office. Perhaps creepiest of all is the old men's surgical wing, where anyone who passes by experiences phantom pains and sensations of being touched. Before we get to that number one spot and take a look at what could be one of the most haunted hospitals in the world, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll be up to date with all our latest creepy content. Finally, we come to Pennhurst Asylum in Pennsylvania, undoubtedly one of the most frightening hospitals in existence. In its 78 years of operation, Pennhurst developed a long history of neglecting, abusing and torturing its patients. There are many tales of patients being chained to the walls, children were kept in cribs for years at a time, and there are even reports of murder. The building was initially a state school for the physically and mentally disabled. It spanned an impressive 120 acres and housed over 10,000 patients at a time. But it's clear that housing so many patients caused the quality of care to suffer, as this facility faced countless accusations of abuse and dehumanisation before it was eventually shut down in 1986. During this time, the buildings were abandoned, with patients' belongings and medical equipment left as eerie reminders of the past. These days, brave ghost hunters continue to visit Pennhurst Asylum to document its strange happenings. They've found a long list of spooky phenomena, including unexplainable audio recordings, sharp drops in temperature, and objects that move without explanation. Visitors have been pushed by unseen hostile forces, and sound recorders have picked up angry voices shouting things like, "Go away, I'll kill you, and why won't you leave?"
Well, there's another episode down. Thank you so much for watching. Slap that upward facing thumb as usual because it lets us know you're enjoying the content. Also, leave a comment down below as we love reading them. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time.